here and screw up everything. Come on, please, God, please. Don't. Okay, so just trying to print something about the gun process server and the gun. Took 15 minutes because of computer problems. Tober woke up, and now he's here. He's thinking. He's thinking. Oh, now he's stretching. Now he's kind of causing a lot of vibrations. Come on, buddy, get out of the way. Okay, well, he's going to sit here right in front of me. Okay, I can deal with that. Good boy, good boy. Yeah, you're a good boy. You're a good boy. Okay, hopefully. Okay, so here's the deal, folks. What is Brian Erskine talking about? He's saying, hey, along with not wanting, I don't want to pay these fees. The court says I got to pay the Fenn Estate, and hey, what about all these kind of nasty things that have happened? I mean, what that has to do with him having to pay the fees, I don't know. But Brian seems to be, in my opinion, throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. And I'm not sure how this helps. I mean, this is my take on this whole concept of appealing the court's decision to make him pay the fees. They've already made up their mind. And they're not happy with him. The court is not happy with Brian. So, to me, it's kind of like you're prodding the bull. And my legal friend said something to the effect of this. He's kind of like prodding the bull. Because the court's already said, look, we think this case has been frivolous. I'm reading into it. I'm using my own language. We think the case has been frivolous, without merit. And so we're going to make you pay the legal fees of the Fenn Estate, okay? So what does Brian do? Brian comes back and says, to paraphrase what's been going on here, number one, I don't think you should do that because you weren't really that firm about the whole idea of the contract thing, so I think you kind of agreed with me on some level, even though the court did not agree with him at all. So because of that, I don't think I should have to pay the fees. The order might reflect significantly partial defense merits success. The order might reflect significantly partial defense merits success. You know that argument? I speak English. And then he said, the fee claim exceeds or does not reflect the time, labor, difficulty, and skill that the case really required from the Fenn Estate. So on that one, he's kind of jabbing the judge. He's saying, hey, look, come on, man. They didn't do all the work they said they did to make me pay all this money back. Come on. So I don't think that's too cool. I'm just kind of thinking of it from the judge's point of view. It's kind of like, look, I've already made my decision, and now you're coming back basically saying I was wrong. And then we have the concept that the Fenn Estate threatened him with a, kind of saying, look, we could sue you. They probably were probably if I was at this fee conference, it would have been something along the lines of, look, if you're going to make an issue of paying us what we're due, we could always just go after you for this other law where we basically say, look, this whole case we think was kind of malicious. You were just kind of trying to get us, And he's saying, well, I didn't do that. No, I like Forrest Fenn. I like ZOE I'm nothing but respectful. So, that's where they're at. Then he brings up So then he brings up in number 4, apparently the fee conference unquantified conditional offer to sharply reduce the fees in exchange for waiving the appeal. So I guess he's saying, look, I'm willing to, not appeal this if you'll sharply reduce the fees. And let's not forget, we had an intimidation letter of March 2020. I'm not going to bother looking that up, but I'm sure it was something along the lines of stop doing this, stop suing us. Intimidation or not, I don't know. But the one that got me was Oh, and the defense had a lot of publicity. Yeah, well, that's what happens when you go after someone who's had a 10-year treasure hunt and still nobody knows the location of the treasure. And the guy who found the treasure is hiding out. And the guy who had the treasure hunt died within a couple of months or few months of the treasure being found. I mean, the whole thing still is kind of worth publicity. Well, at least especially among us Fenn people. A manipulative, wow, this in the gun incident, but after that he says, a manipulative pattern emerges suggesting that opposing the counsel aims to deter appeal, whether by... A manipulative pattern emerges suggesting that opposing counsel aims to deter the appeal. Well, duh! Yes, Brian, they are trying to deter the appeal. They want you to stop it. This is the incident he was referring to, and he's kind of, like I said, he's kind of throwing it out there like, here's another thing that the other side did that was not right and bad. I didn't know about this. Now, this is a police report. I'm not going to get into, I'll put a link to it, but I'm not going to get into the name of the officer and all this stuff, so it's unimportant. On Wednesday, December 9th, 2020, I responded to a call for service via telephone in reference to a possible aggravated assault at 803 Calle Romolo. I assume this is ZOE'S residence. I am not going to look that up either. But this is what because the point is, this is what he's referring to. I made, the police officer is saying, I made contact with a Mr. D, who stated he responded to this location to serve legal paperwork for his job. Mr. B said as he approached the gate, a male wearing a beanie, jacket, and jeans with a beard came outside and advised Mr. B not to come onto his property. Mr. B advised the male he was there to deliver paperwork to a Ms. Zoe O. This would be the paperwork for Brian Erskine, serving her, right? The lawsuit. The server says, the guy trying to serve the lawsuit says, the bearded guy yelled at him that he didn't care and didn't want him on his property. Mr. B said the male then told him, quote, you have 10 seconds to get off my property. If I ever see you here again, I'll shoot you. Not good. Mr. B stated the male was holding a pistol in his hand while telling him to leave his property. He said the male did not point it at him nor fire any rounds, but Mr. B said he took off running. Mr. B said he took off running to his vehicle and drove off. He said he was not able to get a really good look at the male because it was dark out, but believes him to be a Caucasian male in his 40s or 50s. I was able to find Miss Zoe Old in the National Crime Information Center along with a previous phone number. I called the phone number, but no one answered. I left a message for Mrs. Old to return my call. Okay, so Brian, I shouldn't probably talk to Brian directly. So Brian is basically saying the Zoe Old and the Fenns were not happy about him pursuing this lawsuit against them, and they were trying to avoid it. And I don't know who this guy is who came out with a gun. Apparently at Zoe Old's residence. That's where this process server was. But the guy threatened to shoot the guy. Why am I laughing? Because he ran to his car and drove off. It's just like I would be like, the guy wasn't pointing the gun at him. I'm not saying, I'm just saying I would have took it in the context of the situation, just been like, okay, man, okay, I'm getting out of here. I'm taking off. But, literally, he took off running to his vehicle and drove off. I just find that, for whatever reason, I just find that amusing. Okay. So that's what he's talking about. So stuff happened on the other side. Zoe Old and the Fenns didn't appreciate this whole thing, and apparently at times things happened like they sent a letter and said, boo, stop it, and Brian got offended, or, a process server, someone threatened to shoot him, okay, this happens. I mean, the Fenns, we know, remember the guy that broke in that time, and was it Zoe? Maybe it was Zoe again, who held him at gunpoint, and then there's another sister, maybe it was her, I don't know. But anyway, you know, the Fenns have guns and know how to use them. We all know that just from what we've seen with Forrest, his books, reading about him. Yeah, so fee conference, unquantified conditional offer to sharply reduce fees in exchange for waiving appeal. Did not work. So, number 5, net benefit of public service at personal risk. Until I sued, the open contract notoriously indefinitely claimed and risked lives and drove crimes. Brian Erskine, in the last argument, and I hope I'm using all this verbiage correctly, but the last argument of his motion, I don't know. And number 5, basically what he says is, without even getting into reading it, he says, look, my trying to sue Fenn helped save lives, helped save the lives of people out there that were looking, because we know that a number of people died. He says, Forrest and the Fenn family are not, just said I wouldn't read it, I think I will. Forrest and the Fenn family are not victims in any sense. Aligned with police, I evidenced that participant lives lost contributed to motivating my suit. What did he just say? It sounds to me like he's saying, you know, the fact that people were dying motivated my lawsuit against Forrest Fenn. This was not a self-serving claim arising at suit. So he is saying that this claim on my part was partially to, what, stop the hunt? Was that actually what he wanted to do? He goes on to say, well, you know, in 2020, there was a death, another near death in Dinosaur National Monument. There were federal criminal cases stemming from events in Yellowstone. Remarkably, Forrest ended the quest, the chase, in a self-serving, publicity-driven sense. I hold, he literally says, in a self-serving publicity. Remarkably, Forrest ended the quest in a self-serving, publicity-driven sense, semicolon, plainly, I hold that my performance or claim actually ended it. He is claiming that his lawsuit ended the chase, and so therefore he was responsible for saving lives of people who might have gone out there and tried to find the chest and died in the process. Remember, it was right after Erskine brought this suit that the chase ended, but of course we know that the chase ended because Jack Stu found it. Or, as he says, the box got found. Quote, got found. So, again, kind of gobbledygooky. You know, yeah, Forrest ended the chase right after I sued him on this latest thing. But then, yeah, the box got found. I respectfully ask the court to draw a more sensible inference. My suit, Brian says, my suit promoted public safety and demonstrably ended risk, open dangers, and projected net court cases. He's even bringing in that, look, I've saved you guys upcoming court cases. As a risk and insurance professional, he goes on to say, I know how much it matters to, you know, save lives. Indeed, considering the value and the notoriety of these deaths, risk, rescues, and cases, this suit demonstrably is exceptional, and any fee award should be stayed pending appeal. In other words, do not make me pay them this fee. I have actually been out there saving lives. I know. You're like, really? Yes, he has saved lives because he, in suing them, and Fenn stopped the chase because he sued Fenn. And oh yeah, the box was found by Jack Stoof, but it's kind of like, okay, maybe. It's that gobbledygooky, folks. That's why he got hit with the legal fees, right? He got hit with the legal fees because the whole thing is a mess. It's just kind of a wish list with not much foundation. Conclusion by Brian Erskine. Expert testimony or documentation of alternative fee arrangements are not required in this simple, unique case. I respectfully ask the court to apply discretion and factors cited herein in reducing and or staying the fee award. I further respectfully ask the court to affirm tolling of the appeal. That means, I had to look that up, that means staying the appeal, tolling, giving it more time, for at least 45 days. So he wants them to drag it out, the time that he has to pay. And then he brings up this silly thing. He brought up earlier, I don't think I mentioned, he brought up earlier that for part of the fee conference, his trying to get his COVID vaccine had interfered with him with that. And now he brings it up again. A 45-day stay of collection on my fee award from the time of fixing by the court for clarity as to any applicable deadlines, and for any applicable deadlines to fall no earlier than Monday, March 22nd, due to the March 13th timing of my second pandemic vaccine dose, upon information and belief the more likely to cause mild illness despite my robust health. So he's afraid he might get sick from his second COVID shot, and that'll affect his ability to handle this situation. That's it, folks. I'll put the link out there. That's Brian Erskine's case. Brian Erskine, in my opinion, has no case whatsoever, and the court is not happy with him, and I suspect the court will just simply say, no, we're not going to stay the appeal, we're not going to reduce the fee, we're just going to make you pay the fee like we said, and I'm sure they're just going to throw it out. And then if Brian Erskine goes forward from there, now again, my legal friend said, well, that's not, yeah, I understand. He said, I understand where you're coming from, that he's kind of prodding the court just to even go to this limit, but he said it is also kind of expected that he would do that. But if he goes any further than this, if they come back and say, we're not going to let you not pay the fee, or we're going to reduce it, and then he wants to go further, Brian wants to make an issue of it, he's kind of saying, well, then I think Brian's really opened up a can of whoop ass and probably would not be smart. If I were Brian, I would just drop it. I know it's a hard lesson to learn. Nobody wants to lose $125,000 with absolutely no reward of any kind at all. But before I go, I do want to say this again, and I'll say it again. I just find it hard to believe that after 10 years of this chase, and as many people as I know have been involved in it, we are literally going to supposedly never know where the chest was. I know everyone's got their solves, and we've had the silly GPS thing and all this stuff to get, people get views and stuff. That's fine. People are out there trying to make, $100 a month or whatever. I understand that. But I just think there's something terribly wrong. I think there's just something terribly wrong with us never knowing that location, and I am going to continue following things like the legal case, but I'm going to do other videos, right? Because I watch the news every day, and my head literally explodes, and it goes in and out, in and out. But I am going to, this thing with the location, we've just got to be given that location. How do we know the poem even really... That's a big boy scratching his... Yeah, I know, you're a good boy, Tober. How do we even know it really was findable? That's what I guess I'm always trying to say. How do we really know that poem worked and that the chest was really findable? We don't, because we have no proof of where it was. And Jack Stoof himself said, you know, it wasn't so much the poem. I just figured out from watching a lot of clips and reading a lot from Forrest Fenn and watching a lot of interviews, I kind of figured out where he wanted to die. And when I figured out where he wanted to die, then I was able to know the location, and then I went and looked for the blaze, and the blaze was broken, so at first I didn't know where it was, but then I figured out I was looking at a broken blaze, and so therefore I found the chest. He didn't really make it very clear that the poem got him there, and a number of people that have talked to Jack have come back and written to me or said online, and I've read them, say he doesn't really seem to know what the poem solve is. That's freaky, folks. That's freaky. Everyone have a good time. Like I said, I've got company for a while, so I'm working these videos around that, and some of my time that otherwise is spare is being taken up, and hopefully this will be resolved soon when the renovation work is finished up. I think they're actually going to get in there on Monday and get some work done. Anyway, everybody have a good time. Until next time, goodbye.